We are back. Welcome back to the Ready Simple Podcast, episode 294 with my good friend Laura Severse. What's up, baby girl?
Not much.
I know.
Doing good.
I know. You've been in town for how long now?
About a month.
About a month.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Laura and I know each other from way back in Boston. I've done, I think the last 4 episodes were all with Boston comics.
Oh, kiddo. Who
So you're the
else?
4th. I did Alex Getlin, Handren, and Justin Hoff.
Yep.
Yeah.
All good.
Well,
good.
I mean, let's not blow Justin's head up. He kind of sucks. But.
Fair. or Jordan Hendron-CV.
Well, he goes by Handren CV.
I know.
He dropped the Jordan.
I know, but I like to give him a hard time.
I think I'm the only one that still calls him that from time to time because I slip, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I saw him here actually, and I was like, "Hey, Jordan," and he's like, "It's Hendron."
I know. Is that like dead naming? You know, like with trans people?
I mean, I guess it
Can I be
could
canceled for fucking up his name?
Yeah, he might cancel. We won't though. I won't.
Yeah, I don't think he's not the canceling type.
I think you're all right.
He gets aggressive. So thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, of course.
We were actually bullshitting at lunch yesterday.
Yes.
And I was like, well, why don't we just do this on air so I could put one in the can and take a week off in a few weeks?
Yes. Lunch yesterday was the best.
I know. You're a big fan of the LA scene, huh?
Yeah, I loved every second of that, man.
What is it about? Like, are you like a big Bravo fan? You do all the E! Network shit?
No, not at all. What I loved about it is that like I've been doing all the gritty LA stuff, and so that for me yesterday was like just this cool like. I mean, like I said to you, where in Boston am I going to sit next to somebody who's making, $4 or $5 million, a driver who's driving a $400,000 Bentley SUV?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's the thing about Boston. There's a lot of rich people. They just don't flash it the way they do out here.
Yeah.
The blue blood wealthy don't fuck around and drive a Ferrari. They never do that.
You are absolutely correct.
Never.
And in fact, they take the the regular ferry over to like Nantucket. They're not even caught dead on the High Line.
Oh yeah, that's what the true wealthy do. That's what senators' kids do and shit like that.
That's exactly right.
The like rich people like that drive a Volvo to work.
Correct.
Like an 8-year-old Volvo wagon.
Yeah,
that's their go-to.
You're absolutely right. They don't flaunt their money. So for me out here, like seeing that and being in that, I was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome.
I know. No celebrity sightings, unfortunately.
No, nothing. I mean, like, comedy celebrities, but no like big star. Like I haven't seen Brad Pitt.
Yeah. My first day here, I saw Stevie Wonder.
Oh, get the fuck out.
Getting into a car. Thankfully, not the driver's seat.
Jesus.
He's getting into a Tesla. Someone was helping him into the back.
Oh, good. I'm glad. That's good.
Although I heard a rumor that he does like to drive. He has like a fleet of cars, and he'll go out like on a big empty lot. Yeah. And let the wind blow through his braids.
If you got money like that, and somebody can guide you, and or not, or whatever, keep it, whatever. Yeah, fuck it.
I can't even imagine the residuals musicians make.
Oh well,
especially like him. He's got so many hits.
Yeah, but it's somebody like him. Other people are not making shit. You know what I mean?
No, well, I guess it's probably a lot like comedy feast or famine. Like it's like the top 20 artists are getting all the money, and everyone else is fucking living hand to mouth.
Do you follow the guy from Eve 6 on Twitter?
Who the fuck is Eve 6?
Okay, Eve 6 was this horrible fucking band back in like I don't know the 90s or whatever. They had that one song "Heart in a Blender." Do you remember that?
I do remember that song.
Okay, the lead singer of Eve 6 went on Twitter kind of early on in the pandemic. Turns out to be a fucking riot. The guy is hilarious. And he talks about how awful his band was and how he wrote that song. And he was actually like a virgin at the time. And like how you got to follow this guy. You will piss your pants.
There's a whole thing now, I feel like, of nostalgia. Like, folks of a certain age, our age, 40, getting on 40 or over. Like, I mean, look at the Super Bowl halftime show. It was like nostalgic for. I didn't know I was old until like kids were like, "Who the fuck are these people?"
Oh my god, I was beside myself. Meanwhile, my siblings and I were like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be like we couldn't get enough." Like it was, that was fucking great.
But guys like that, like like now with social media, they would have like a second act.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they come back.
Absolutely, and he was talking about how they made not a penny. Like they made nothing. Like after the record companies and everything was done, like they made absolutely no money, and they had this like #1 hit and blah blah blah. But you're right. There is a second act.
I definitely think, especially obviously in like show business and music in particular, like back in the day, the corporate interest had all the power. They could figure out how to fuck you out of your money. Absolutely. But nowadays, because of social media, like you have control of your audience. Yep. So I think you can leverage for a little bit more money. Absolutely. They're not fucking guys out of money like back in the day.
100%. I mean, even big established bands like back then, Metallica, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I mean, that's actually
that's the name of a great cover, Chili Peppers cover band.
Honestly, it's probably a Freudian slip. Anthony Kiedis always had his fucking dick out. But all those big bands didn't make the money that they should have really made. They're well off now. We don't feel bad for them, but I'm just saying back then, man, the record companies had all the power.
Well, because they had all the information. They knew what record sales were, and and they also controlled the expenses. So like, oh, you get like, they'll tell an artist like, oh, you get 20% of the gross. Or sorry, 20% of the net, and they'll get 20% of the gross, and then they just put all these expenses on the client, on the musician, so they get no payout while they take like they take their end right off the top line.
Yep,
that's like a classic move.
And they also because these guys were young and ignorant, they don't know what they're going to sell. They don't know what they're doing, and they're just signing away like, oh, I got this record contract, and that's all they can see. It's very short sighted. One of the smartest people in the music industry is Duff McKagan, and actually, believe it or not, Axl Rose, both from Guns N' Roses. They both Duff is extremely intelligent man who was always on top of the money thing. Axl, same way. He was messed up for a little while, but as was Duff. But Axl had the forethought when they all broke up to get the name. He took the name Guns N' Roses. He began managing the money. Like, these were not stupid people. I mean, they were fucked up.
They were drug addicts. Yeah, it doesn't make you a stupid person. It makes you a drug addict.
Correct. That's a whole other issue. But yeah, I mean, but very few of these bands. I mean, it's just, I feel bad. I think about for myself, like, I mean, let me be clear. I'm clearly not on the same level as like a Guns N' Roses, but I'm saying that's their intellectual property. Yeah. That's something they created. They wrote, they did that. And some fucking record executive named Tommy whatever is like, yeah, that's mine now. Fuck you.
I know. I although I kind of wish I had the smarts of the record executive, the ability to fuck people out of money and do it without losing sleep over it is, I think it's kind of a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like an evil gift in some ways, like to just swindle people like that.
To be fair, if I could be living in a multi-million-dollar mansion and not have to do a goddamn thing except to have like a little bit of a legal knowledge, yeah, sure, why not? I would do that. I mean, yeah, all right, fair.
Fuck some guys out of money.
Yeah. To be honest.
So Axel's still out there playing. You said you went to his concert. I was going to ask you.
Oh yeah.
How long do you see yourself like doing comedy until you're in the grave, or is it one of those things like? Because everyone's always asking like, is Rolling Stone going to hang it up? Right. Rolling Stones is whoever name your aging artist.
I honestly don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't have any plans to stop. I certainly don't want to die of a heart attack in a VFW hall on Route 1 in fucking Saugus, but at the same time, I can't see stopping doing something that I love so deeply.
Yeah. When did you get started?
I started about 7 years ago.
Oh, so not that long. I'm only 5 years in. Okay, yeah. Good. All right. That makes me feel better because I feel like I started so late at 33.
Oh, no. I hit a milestone birthday and I was like, fuck this shit. I'm doing the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What took you so long? What was like did you even know you had an interest?
Oh yeah, all my life, all my life. Like I'm talking even as a teenager, a kid. I was always funny. I always wanted to be in front of people. I didn't want to act though. That was never my thing, and I didn't know how to what's the thing. And I grew up in a family where we revered music and comedy and reading and literature. It was a very art centered growing childhood. We were broke and poor and all those things, but we had. The music was on in my house all day long.
What'd they go with?
My parents were like very classic 70s, it was just
like 70s rock.
Yeah, or a lot of folk disco music. No, there was no.
Okay.
Well,
my house was disco.
My mom was into disco. Motown, absolutely. I was into disco. I was obsessed with Saturday Night Fever.
You're too young for disco, aren't you?
No. I was obsessed with Saturday Night Fever. The first time I ever watched that movie, I was like 12, and it was like the NBC Monday night movie.
Oh, Tony Manero. I love that was on network television.
It what? Well,
just multiple sexual assaults, drug use.
There's a TV version,
a defrocked priest, whatever. Yeah.
Well, there's two versions. There's the TV version, and then there's the theatrical release. So obviously they played the TV version, and in the TV
they didn't put the suicide in there.
No, that's
because that's really touchy subject these days. You can't I've referenced suicide on the podcast. Like obviously giving it, it's horrible and giving it its due. But like, Jordan and I were making a joke about killing yourself in the metaverse. Mm-hmm. I worry about posting that on social media because they will fucking come after you.
People will
even if you're like obviously killing yourself in virtual reality is a joke,
right?
But people get sensitive about it.
They do.
It's like it's not something you can joke about. Well, I feel like you can joke about everything if it's funny enough.
If it's funny. and it's pointed, and it's not, you're not doing it gratuitously. I think it's fine. I really do. But back to the Saturday Night Fever thing. One of the lines in that movie when Bobby goes over the,
when he kills himself.
Yeah. So I remember, Tony Manero walking away, and the cops are like, "What happened?" And he's like, "There's ways of killing yourself without killing yourself." And it's like, he knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
Bobby did. But I don't think that scene would be censored in this day and age because it is such like a poignant moment.
Yeah.
And he's been through so much. I mean, that movie is arguably one of the best movies ever made.
Oh, you think so? You think it's
100%.
I mean, I really love it. I don't know if
it's
not up there with The Godfather, no?
Absolutely it is.
Really?
Of course it is. In a different way. Of course, absolutely. I would die on this hill. I could talk to you about this
It certainly captures that time.
Oh, I mean, so beautifully. And Robert Stigwood, by the way.
Who's that?
He was the producer.
Okay.
He was working with the Bee Gees at the time, and they were working on a new album.
Well, their songs are all over that soundtrack.
Right, and they never meant it to be a disco soundtrack. It was meant to be soul. So what you need to do...
They did a bad job.
What you need to do... You got to promise me publicly we're going to do this.
Right.
You are going to watch the Bee Gees documentary on HBO.
I didn't even know they had one. I'll check that out for sure.
It is incredible. Now, I know everything there is to know about Saturday Night Fever, and I had already known a lot of this stuff, but Robert Stigwood was working with the Bee Gees at the time. They were working on an album, but then he got the rights to this script, and he was talking to Barry Gibb, and he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, and he's like, can you help me with the music with this? And Barry was like, yeah, of course. A lot of the music, How Deep Is Your Love, was written in this like old English like castle type thing. You'll see when you watch. And they needed a line at the beginning, and he said the sun was coming through the window, and he said, "Oh, I know what to say. I know your eyes in the morning sun." And then that's how that song.
Right.
Oh, so that's why you have so much overlap with the Bee Gees and Saturday Night Fever, and why that has such the mood and the feel. And Barry Gibb was the one who came up with the title of Saturday Night Fever. I'm not going to spoil too much.
I feel like I remember photos of Barry Gibb. He might have had the first set of veneers.
Dude,
I mean, they looked like one giant tooth.
Magnificent.
It looked like a mouthpiece, like one.
Yeah, it looked like he clicked something in. Absolutely. And his hair back then, the wings and the feathering.
They really used to, they used to blow it out, huh? They used to spend time. That's actually I'll ask you your favorite scene in the movie, but I'll tell you mine first. My favorite scene in Saturday Night Fever is when he's eating at the dinner table with an entire tablecloth around him so he wouldn't get any sauce on his shirt. And his father hits him in the head. And he tells him not to hit me in my hair.
And then the grandmother's like, he takes the extra pork chop, and then the father's like, if I'm not working, it's one pork chop, one. And then the grandmother flips it back on, and she's like, manja. My favorite scene in that movie, I have a million. The whole movie is my favorite, but there's two. There's one when Stephanie Mangano is dancing with the guy who owns the dance studio, waiting for Tony, and he's like, "What are you doing dancing with him? The guy's the biggest cunt hound in Bay Ridge." And then and she's like, "I was just dancing with the guy." Anyway,
very good impression.
Thank you. And then my other favorite is when his friends come pick him up. What is it, like Triple J and Bobby and whatever. Anyway, and he picks him up and they slam his finger, and he's like, "Oh, he broke my fucking pussy finger."
That's a great line.
That is
broke my pussy finger.
From that moment forward, me and my best friend Alberto, he grew up across the street from me. Anytime one of us jammed our hand, or like we're in our 40s. To this day, anytime one of us hurts a hand, we're like, "Yeah, I broke my pussy finger."
I'm bringing that back,
dude.
That might be the name of my first comedy album, Pussy Finger.
Yeah, why not? It's the best. I broke my hand. I texted, I sent him a picture, and I go, "I broke my pussy hand," and he couldn't. Like, he fucking lost it. I don't know.
They dropped like 4 C-bombs in that movie too, 100%. Which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
He calls a woman a cunt, which is great.
He totally does. That was the time. But I mean, and I hate to be like, well, that's how it was back then. But we have to be realistic. That is how it was back then.
It really is weird that like you can't depict what it was like, because that's cancelable now in some ways. Like you couldn't remake All in the Family.
No.
And Archie Bunker was the butt of the joke. He was supposed to be like a lovable jerk.
Yep.
No one like praised him because he was a biget. They made fun of him because he was a bigot.
Exactly.
But you still couldn't air that.
Nope.
You still couldn't.
And what bothers me too is that there is context, right? You're looking at, like, with Archie Bunker and with Saturday Night Fever, you're looking at a moment in time. And that's how it was then. And what we want in the world is we want progression.
Yeah, of course.
And so but you have to be able to show this is how it was, and we have now moved forward. So everybody calm the fuck down.
I know. They're like taking people down in history. It's like, well, listen, everyone born 100 years ago is racist by today's standards. Every single human being.
Right.
So, or sexist or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, 2,000 years ago, we didn't have fucking, like written civilization. Like for 4,000 years ago, we didn't have written civilization. Like you said, progress is made. And to judge characters, even fictional characters, by today's standards is laughable.
It's ridiculous.
I kind of like to go back and watch the old TV shows and movies and laugh at how ridiculous, like what they would get away with. And was like, could you imagine?
God. No, I mean, you're dead on. Like even like a Sad Night Fever could never be made now. Never. Are you kidding me?
I bet the only way you could remake Saturday Night Fever is if you make an all black cast. That's that's how they're doing. They're not coming up with any new movie ideas. They're just like, let's just make everyone in the cast brown and do it again. It's like, well, just write a new movie that include black characters instead of remaking some old shit and plugging in,
right. And
black actors.
That actually doesn't do the movie justice either, because you could do that and fine, but you're taking, I don't know how to say this.
Well, it really did highlight like Italian lifestyle in Brooklyn at that era. It wasn't, you could do a 70s movie, but it has to be completely different as to what it was going on in whatever pick your black neighborhood, Brownsville, Harlem, whatever it was.
Sure, precisely.
Yeah.
And you could absolutely do that. But again, that movie was specific to an Italian kid in Bay Ridge who just wanted to get out and get over into Manhattan and see what that life was. So yeah, you're right. Plugging in black characters, you have to change location, you've got to change the styles, you've got to change this, that, and the other thing. That was a very specific snapshot in time.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, they dropped the C word. I mean, there's a date rape, there's a rape.
There's N-words all in that pepper throughout. Yeah. It's another great scene when he stacks the pizza right in the beginning, the walk.
Yes.
That's probably one of the most iconic movie openings. Absolutely. I would say that. It's got to, I can't think of a movie opening that's more memorable.
100%. Do you remember Siskel and Ebert?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Gene Siskel.
Was he the fat one or the skinny one?
Skinny.
Okay.
That was his all-time favorite movie.
Really? That guy was such a prick to movies, and you like that one?
This man had seen thousands upon thousands of movies, and that was his favorite, to the point where he bought the white suit.
The actual white suit?
Actual white suit.
I mean, what size? Is that like a size -2? I mean, first of all, it looks like a woman's suit. It's cut that way.
Yeah. And Tony looked good.
I know. He must have been 135 pounds soaking wet. I don't know how everyone stayed so thin in the 70s.
I don't
know either. Cocaine and cigarettes? Is that got to be it?
Yeah, and I would say, quite honestly, I think that's actually come back.
Yeah.
Cocaine and cigarettes.
Now it's Adderall and vape pens.
Although I got to say, Coke feels like it's back in a huge way.
Yeah. Well, they've done studies. I've looked at this, that like when the economy is doing poorly, the prevalence of heroin in the United States goes up.
Oh.
And when the economy is doing well, people are making money, the prevalence of cocaine goes up.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Which is crazy, right? Yeah.
That absolutely makes sense. And heroin's cheap. I mean,
I don't know. I haven't bought heroin recently.
No, from what I've heard.
Very, very Massachusetts of you to know the going price of heroin.
You already know I have an affection for opiates. So
that's right. Were you a big drug user as a kid? Were you a wild child?
Yes, off and on. Like okay. I would always go right to the brink and then be like, oh, somebody's going to throw me in rehab. I better knock it off. And then I pull back. I'm one of those rare few people like that I can get in real kind of deep into it and then just be like, oh, let me stop cold turkey for a while. So I've never had like full blown addiction issues. My biggest addiction, food. That was the thing that I'm
kind of that way. So I binge a little bit with food, with anything. I mean, like in high school, I was pretty good. I smoked a little weed, drank a little bit, but it's really I got to college and I drank like fucking 4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah,
for real competitive drinking. Like me and my buddies to see who can get drunk and do the dumbest thing.
Oh yeah.
Like literally, I think like 75% of our drinking was for the funny story the next day.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you see Dan, he shit his pants at the bar, like
Yeah. We would do things like I would buy like a 50 bag of weed. And back then, 50 bag of weed was pretty substantial. But I
because it was shit weed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I was so I went to Fordham for a while. And then I went to UMass Amherst. And at Amherst, like you get big, huge bags of weed. But it was shit weed, as you said. Or we called it at home brick weed. But anyway, but we would smoke the whole bag like the night before a final and be like, what are we doing? And then we'd walk into the final like, why? We're in this class, microbiology, cancer and AIDS. And I'm like, I don't fucking know what's going on. My friend literally wrote her name on the test and started giggling and handed it to the guy.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't even attempt.
But the secret about college is it's real hard to get in and real easy to get out. Yep. They will graduate. I mean, the bare minimum. because they like most colleges, most classes are graded on a curve. So if everyone fucks off, everyone passes.
You almost want to,
and word gets out. It's like, hey, you know, you get to the curve bus, like, hey, cool it with that fucking right answer. You know?
Yeah, you almost want to stand up at the beginning of class and go, listen, everybody, I don't want anybody in here trying their hardest or doing their best. Let's just keep it very mediocre so we can all get through this. You know what I mean? Like,
I had a professor die in the middle of a semester and got an A for it.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was 2 midterms and a final. It's like some macroeconomics class, boring as shit. I went to the first one. I was like, I'm not going to this regularly. So I'd like copy somebody's homework, and then I'd study for the midterm, study for the final, the 2 midterms and the final. I'd study for the 1 midterm, and I got like a B based on the curve. And I was like, oh man, but I got to like slug through this class with a pain in the ass. And like 2 weeks later, homeboy died. The TA took over. Everyone got an A. I went to the class after I found out. Like I wanted to see if they're going to cancel it and just like not give us any credit. They said no, the TA will finish. I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's bullshit. So I never went again. I don't even know if I went to the final and I still got an A.
Yeah, that TA was like, I'm good. Everybody's getting an A.
Yeah, well, he didn't give a shit.
No,
you know, he's a grad student getting paid like $8,000 a year. He's like, I'm not bothering with this shit. I'm gonna go fuck off. Yeah,
if that. Yeah. I mean, these poor TAs and teaching fellows, they make absolute garbage money. It's sad. Which
is kind of fucked up because a lot of these schools have huge endowments. It's like, but then and then they charge the students all this money. It's like, what are you doing with the $20 billion you're sitting on? You know, I thought it was supposed to be a nonprofit. What the fuck are you doing? Like,
well, the thing about endowments too, though, that a lot of people don't understand is because I work for a private elite institution that may or may not have a endowment that's the size of
a small country.
And what I know about endowments, and just because I happen to know this part of this, is that those are earmarked funds and they actually can't be taken. So anytime something goes awry, somebody's like, tap into the endowment, you fuckers. And it's
they spend the interest. They spend the interest income.
Because but
interest on $20 billion is quite substantial.
Right.
I mean, if you're getting If you're getting 10%, it's $100 million. So $200 million a year. That's a huge operating budget.
And double $20 million, because that's what the place I am at.
$200+ million a year. Yeah.
But the endowment, the principal itself can't be touched. It can only be touched for very specific things. And so people scream about it. And it's like, well, these are restricted funds. These were funds deposited into here for this very specific reason. It can't just be pulled out and, given out willy-nilly, whatever. But you're right. Living off that interest, though, at the place where I am, does go to financial aid, and it's very student oriented, and it's very much helpful. And that place has a partnership and an agreement with other elite institutions, private institutions like them, to do a thing where if your family makes $100K or less, you get a full free ride.
It's nice. That wasn't the case when I was in school, man.
No,
they knew what the fuck I needed.
Yeah,
that was the thing about Brown. People give Brown all this credit for being super liberal. It was the last Ivy League school to go need blind admissions, meaning that at a point in time, 20 years ago, all the Ivy League schools knew how much money your parents made before they admitted you. So they knew whether or not you could pay.
Correct.
There's 8 Ivy League schools. 7 of them went need blind, meaning they decoupled your financial need from your ability to get in.
Yep.
Brown, the liberalist one of them all, was the last, and it held out for like 3 or 4 more years.
That's right.
Which is pretty fucked up. So on, like in the media they're known as this, but they're not. I mean, it's all blue blood money. I know 1,000 legacy kids who went there whose fucking parents invented the goddamn heart lung machine or the ballpoint pen, and 40 of their family members went there, so they go there. It's kind of like a birthright.
That's one of the places where you see a lot of celebrity kids. And
and
for that,
Kevin Costner's daughter was there when I was there.
Yeah. Oh,
good looking gal.
I'll bet. That means that you were probably. I actually worked there for a little while, and I remember she was. Yeah, so
I was there from 01 to 05.
Trying to think. Yep, I was there.
There you go.
Yeah, I worked in the central office there, right on Thayer Street, and I used to go to
Thayer Street.
Yeah, I do miss that. It was a cute little street.
I had a lot of fun there. I mean, that's the thing about college. I've only met like 2 people who said they didn't like college, and both of them went to the University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, but any college I feel like is just the most fun you're going to have between 18 and 22.
Absolutely.
It's the biggest scam there is, because what you're paying for is the name that's associated with the school, the reputation.
Yes.
And essentially you have 4 years where you could fuck off and the world is like, oh, he was in college, exploring, or she was, trying to see what she liked. But then at the end of it, you get like a legitimate degree. I told my buddies when I got back from my first semester, I was like, dude, all these teachers spend all this time telling you you're going to be a loser if you don't go to college. It's like if just one of the teachers said, listen, if you go to college, the drugs are cheap and the women are everywhere. all of my buddies would have tried a lot fucking harder. I was like, guys, it's a fucking pussy and drug parade. It's ridiculous.
Free-for-all.
Yeah.
It's a contained, safe free-for-all. Because it's the last it's the last bastion of chaos before you go out into the real world. And I'm torn because, like, on the one hand, I don't know that every person needs to go to college, but on the other hand, I don't think
so. I think too many people go.
I agree with you.
And I think they devalued regular people jobs. Like, people look down at being a plumber. It's like, I can't plumb fucking thing. I'm not an electrician. Those guys are like wizards compared to me. I have a big fancy. I'm fucking useless if the lights go out. Like, I can't change a fucking tire. I am barely a man.
Well, I
can pay another guy to do it. That's about it. But I can't.
We're seeing a shift now. I have my sister-in-law's boys. She sent him to a vocational school. And back in the day, if you were going to a Voc or a Tech or a Voc Tech, whatever, people were like, "Oh God, stupid over here." But meanwhile, that was the guy that became a plumber at 22 and was making bank by the time he was 25.
Has his own little shop, has a couple locations.
So she was like, "No, she was like, he's got a plan. He wants to do this. He's going to do that." And my best friend, her daughter was an electrician's apprentice last summer.
Yeah, and you get in that union. You're minting money.
Oh, she loved it. She's like, why am I going to go to college when my first year out, I can make 40 grand. And by probably like my third or fourth, I'll be making 80 to 100. Yeah. And my friend
clocking huge overtime, getting $100 an hour, working 7 to 3. You're done by 3 p.m. You're out the door.
And she's a woman, which means she's going to get into the union immediately. Yeah. And she's smart as shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know that every kid needs to go to, I think we get sold this bill of goods. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think, and there is now, right now, currently, and especially because college is so outrageously expensive. Fordham University is $65,000.
Yeah, you were telling me yesterday. I couldn't believe that.
What the fuck are you, why? And I said to you, why the fuck would I pay $65K a year for like a second, third tier school?
Yeah.
And so, as I said, I'm either going Ivy or we're going state and nothing in between. Unless my boy gets, or my daughter gets a full ride somewhere, I'm not going anywhere in between because it's not worth the money.
And it's also the worst loan you can take out because it's the only loan. I'm surprised the only reason banks give it is because the government subsidizes it. But you can't think of any other loan. I can't think of any other loan you can get where you don't have to put like collateral.
Mm-hmm.
Like your mortgage, they could take your house. Your car, they'll take your fucking car.
Yeah.
You buy just land, they'll take the land. Your business, if you put a personal guarantee, they'll take all your money. Only in college, it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to give an 18-year-old $150,000 and hopefully he pays it back. No job. Like before you even get into college, they're handing you the money. It's crazy.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it's the only fucking loan I know on the planet where I can pay it for 20 years and still owe the same goddamn amount that I took out. Like, are you shitting me? My husband took out a $25K loan 13 years ago. Guess how much we owe? Like $21K. I'm like, what the fuck? Who's been paying this?
Like the mafia made the loan.
Like, it's got a big on it. Like, are you kidding me? It reminds me of my mother. My mother, you borrowed $5 from this bitch on like a Wednesday, and she'd be standing there at the door on Friday, like, "Did you get paid today? And you owe me $7." I'm like, Jesus Christ, I bought it 2 days ago. And the running joke in the family was that my mother always had a big vig. Like that was my.
I used to loan money to my siblings when I was a kid. I would like save up the money my grandparents gave me, and like my sister was always blowing money on shit, so I'd loan it to her at interest, just loan sharking around the house. It's a good move.
My sister was you. She would hoard her money. You get the $5 from Nana, you get the $10
that's what I would do
for this. So in her top bureau drawer, she had a stack of cash. Now the rest of us would get it in our hands and blow it inside. I'd be down at like Kmart, like, I got to get this new single. You know what I mean? Like,
single.
Jody Watley's got a new song out, and I'd be like, "Fucking you too." Anyway, but I'd go to her and be like, "Listen, there's this thing I want to buy," and she'd like hand me like the $5 and be like, "I'm gonna need this back. It's gonna be double," and you'd have to really think hard about whether or not you were willing to fucking. But she was the one you went to, and my daughter takes after her. One night back in January, I ordered food. I wanted to give the guy a nice tip. He comes out, it's cold. We're in Boston. I'm a big tipper.
Nice.
I had a grandmother who waited.
I've railed about tipping on this podcast because I drive for Uber. People don't do it enough, and it took a point of pride. Yeah. My dad was always greasing people. Yes. He was always good like that because it comes back to you.
It does. Absolutely.
You take care of a guy, and he'll take care of you.
absolutely. My grandmother was a waitress at the Howard Johnson's in Fenway for 35 years, which means
God. That Howard Johnson is still there. How the fuck? It might be the only Howard Johnson left in the country. Like,
it's a hotel now.
Oh, they changed it?
It's the Verb. It's
like that's what that is? I've seen like the stupid fucking billboards for it. Okay.
Yep. But all the Red Sox players would go in there and she would know who was the good, obviously over time, who the good tippers were and who weren't. And she would just be like, I'm not serving that table. They're horrible. And they make, but they weren't even making money back then.
Yeah, so not like it is today.
Yeah. But so anyway, I feel like it's my thing is I got a tip. These people work hard. So anyway, so I'm trying to give this guy, like I had $2 in cash. I'm like, I'm not giving this man $2. That's horrible. So I go in my daughter's up, drawer. I'm rifling around. She's got a stack of fucking money and it's in a sandwich bag.
Yeah. That's how I used to do it. I used to hide it in a sandwich bag, like behind a picture or something.
Yep. And so I pulled out the 10, gave it, and she came home within a half an hour. She knew I had clipped $10 from her. Like, she was rolling around her room doing something. Then she comes out with her hands on her hips and she's like, you stole my money. And I'm like, I didn't steal your money, man. Back. I'll give it back. Relax. Like,
it's like, actually, you're stealing my money. You're living under my fucking roof rent free.
How about you pay me some rent?
You came out of my uterus. How about that? What was the rent from my uterus? You ruined my body. Where's that money?
You were late. And you had a nerve to be late. Like you overstayed your welcome. and then you had to be cut on me. You know what I mean? I got a scar from here to here.
Yeah. So how old are your kids now? I know I asked you yesterday.
My boy is 13 and my girl is 11.
So you're definitely the parent with the oldest kids I've had on the podcast.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about that on the podcast. We were talking a little bit about yesterday. Yeah. What's it like raising an 11, 13-year-old?
It's brutal. It's hard. It's really fun and it's really hard because they're their own people now.
I kind of feel like that's when your kids start to hate you.
It's
they get the mouth on them. Like when you're 4 or 5, mom can do no wrong. The light shines out of the sun shines out of your ass.
Yeah.
But 13 years old, they don't want anything. I remember when I was 13, I didn't want to fucking see my parents. I could do without them.
My son and I with the same person, and so we just fucking clash. I mean, we are stubborn. We both have to have the last word. I mean, a fight between us will be like, go to your fucking room. You should, fuck you, mom. And I'm like, oh, fuck you. And then my husband,
guys do the shouting. I like it. Old school.
100%.
Oh my God, Laura, I had a woman get in my car that had a debate with her 5-year-old daughter on their way to school, and she threatened. So listen to this. First, she has like her own little seatbelt that she put her in the car with. Like she chose like a travel seatbelt. It was like a 4-point harness, like she was in fucking Daytona 500. She strapped this girl in, and she was like apologizing to me because she was like, "Sorry, I had an argument with my daughter this morning. She wouldn't give me back my phone." I was like, "What?
What?
It's a fucking 4 or 5 years. I mean, she couldn't have been in budding kindergarten. Wouldn't give you back your phone. Just snatch it."
Yeah, what are we talking about? Fucking kidding?
You could ragdoll that little thing.
No, you take that from her hand.
So she's in the back talking about telling the daughter, like, I'm very upset with how you not responding to me this morning. We've had a tough morning. I think I'm going to take away your iPad. And she's like, oh, no, sorry. She goes, I'm going to take away. You can't use my phone anymore. She's like, well, what if I want to watch this? Like, well, you'll have to use your iPad. So she took away the mom's phone, but she still has her own iPad. And she goes, she said, can I use it next week? And the mom goes, we'll see. She's like, well, I'll have to talk I'll write a note to Santa about it. The little girl said. And like, she's like literally negotiating and using Santa as like her attorney with her mother.
No.
I know.
No. As a matter of fact, I was somewhere last week. I can't remember where I was. And this one was like, Nathaniel, I'm going to need to talk to you about this behavior. And I look over and Nathaniel's a whopping 3.5, 4. And I'm like, no, there's nothing to talk about.
He's not going to understand.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's a problem with a lot of parents too. They want to negotiate and try to reason with a child at 2, 3, 4, 5. They don't have reasoning power. They can't apply logic. You say to a kid, you can have dessert after dinner. They have a tantrum because they're impulsive. They only know
what they want. Yeah.
And you can negotiate with them all you want. It doesn't matter. So you just have to stand your ground and say, nope, we'll do this after dinner. And you feel bad on the one hand because, again, they don't understand.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you do have to stand firm. And I'll tell you something too. With my kids, I'm very direct and honest. I mean, Teddy walks past me. I'm like, hey, you smell. I'm like, you need to take a shower. And he's like, do I smell? I'm like, yeah, you stink like shit. And he's like, oh, I'll take the shower. Yeah. And like I tell him, I'm like, you come out of football practice, you fucking stink. Like, why do you think how do you not smell yourself, you fat fuck? Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So, and I tell him, I'm like, get in the fucking shower. Even with my daughter too, if I walk in her room and I even get a hint of her feet, because her feet is something else.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. My sister and her both have a weird, like, stank feet thing going on.
I feel like you've outed your sister in this too.
I know, I feel really bad because my sister's like this very tall, blonde, beautiful, like professional. She works in the government. Like, she's got very high clearance. Like, but I just fucked her over. Yeah. Sorry, Karen. I won't say your last name. But yeah, and if I walk in and I smell those, I'm like, hit the fucking head. I'm like, get out of here. Like, I'm very direct and honest. My husband was raised in the burbs. His parents were much more gentle. So he's more of the calmer, like, hey, you should probably take a shower when you get some time. And I'm like, get in the shower now. You know what I mean? Like, you're
gonna embarrass yourself in front of a girl.
Yeah,
you can't smell like that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all you got to tell a 13-year-old kid.
Seriously,
girls will think you're a loser. Wash yourself.
Yeah, I tell him all the time. Like, he's got braces, and I'm like, you need to scrub extra hard around there because if your mouth is nasty, no one's gonna be kissing that asshole. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you have to kind of leverage. But the thing of it is parenting them right now, again, super hard because we're getting into it. Like, this is my Super Bowl with these kids because this is their formative years. And I've got to deal with, and I was telling you this yesterday, I've got to deal with sexuality. I've got to deal with being a good person. Right now, I'm not raising kids. I'm raising the adults I want them to be.
Yeah.
And so this is the critical juncture. It's like it's all well and good when they're, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. But we're getting to the meat of it right now. This is the moment
when they can make mistakes that will impact the rest of their lives.
Exactly. And so like we watch stupid shit on TV, like ridiculousness on like MTV or whatever with Rob Dyrdek, who I fucking love. And we watch stuff and there'll be somebody drunk at a party. I'm like, see that motherfucker? Like, he just toppled over that. You could bang your head. Now you concussed. Now you're in the hospital. See. And of course, Teddy's like, can I just enjoy the show and have a laugh? But I'm like using it as like a life
teaching lesson.
Yeah. And it drives him bad shit crazy. And I talk to him about everything. This is
I was going to ask you, how is it to, because obviously I don't have kids and I have no plans in the immediate future to have any. How is it having like the sex talk? We're talking about drugs. Do you tell them about these things?
Absolutely. And
do you tell them about your past? Or are they too young yet?
Yes and no. It depends on the situation. Like with the drug stuff, I'm honest to a point. Like they know that I enjoy edibles. Because marijuana is legal and I don't want it stigmatized in the house. My friends that are over are out back, obviously not inside the house, but my friends are allowed to smoke. I will eat a gummy. Like it's legal and I don't want it stigmatized. And as far as I'm concerned, I feel like people who booze are more fucked up than anybody who's getting high. Yeah. Alcohol is a poison and it affects all 5 major organs in your body, whereas weed fucks my brain a little bit, makes me feel nice. The worst fucking thing I ever did on pot, I walked to a store 24 at 4:00 in the morning and got cupcakes. That was probably more dangerous than, meanwhile on booze, you can get into all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? So anyway, with the pot and stuff, we're very open. My husband doesn't do it anymore. We also have a rule in the household. Only one parent can be fucked up at a time.
That's a standard rule. You got to have some coverage.
You do. I mean, if somebody needs to be rushed to Children's, we both can't be stumbling and they're like, I don't know what happened. So we're very open with marijuana. We're open about alcohol. We do have addiction issues, in the greater family unit, if you will. And so with alcohol. So we're very open about being mindful of how much I don't drink. I actually don't drink at all. But I do.
Did you used to?
Yes.
How long did you stop?
I stopped probably in my late 20s, early 30s, and I just
smart.
Yeah, I just kind of quit cold turkey because what was happening was I every single fucking time I drank, something happened.
Yeah,
and it could be as simple as I left my keys at the bar downtown, right on up to some pretty bad shit, right?
Yeah.
And I just said it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Now, having said that, if I'm in Vegas and we're at a beautiful restaurant, I'll get like one beautiful cocktail, right? That's it. But that's it. I don't drink. But again, I indulge in other things. If you've got Ativan around, you better fucking hide it because I will help myself. You ever
like Tic Tacs?
Dude, I will. I do that thing called farming. You know about this?
No, what's that?
It's PHARMING, and it's when you look in people's medicine cabinets.
Oh, everybody does that.
Yeah,
no.
But there's a name for it.
Okay, there isn't. Farming. Okay, that's good to know because I've never been in a stranger's house and not done a little snooping.
100%.
I think it comes with it, right? I mean, you want to see, what's this guy on?
Yeah.
What's his wife on?
And
will they notice if any's missing?
Because of that, I don't keep any medication in my because I'm like, I know what I do. I'm talking like going to a relative's house and being like, oh, you have a big ass prescription for tramadol? I'm taking 5 of those. You know what I mean? And I know my drugs. I've been in the field a long time. I know my drugs.
Yeah. I never got into the pills. I had a buddy of mine gave me, I forget what it was. It wasn't a Viking. It was one of the other ones in college. And I just passed out for 7 hours. Yeah. I was like, well, that's not fun.
Yeah, see, for me,
and I couldn't take a shit for a day. I was
like,
this isn't for me.
No,
I'll stick to the weed and mushrooms.
It will bind you the fuck up. Yeah, you will turn your asshole inside.
I've seen commercials for a drug that makes you poop because you have constipation troubles from opiates. Yes. So instead of getting off the opiates, they just give you another drug so you could shit while on the opiates.
Yes. So after a surgery, for example, they send you home with 10 Percocet or oxycodone and you're taking them and you forget that you are at some point gonna have to shit. So they give you Colace or like whatever else. If you don't take it, I can tell you it's like giving birth.
Oh no.
It's that same
You just shit a softball?
Yeah. Yep. You will literally be, I mean, I don't want to get too graphic, but you'll literally be on the toilet. Go ahead,
get graphic. This podcast is a mess.
You will be on the toilet, like trying to breathe it. I remember doing like Lamaze breathing, like, okay, I can do this. Okay. And then I'm like, I'm going to tear my fucking asshole. Like,
and not in a good way.
Not in a fun, and not with any, not with any pleasure associated with it. So yeah, I love pills. You got to keep them away from me. If a friend is having surgery, I will absolutely say to them, hey, if you don't take them all, I'm your gal. Hey, I'm like half joking. And meanwhile, I'm like, I'll take them. And so I do love pills, but again, I'm mindful because I know myself.
Yeah.
Like I have a knee surgery coming up in 2 weeks.
And shit, what are you getting done?
The whole replacement.
Why?
Yeah. I tore my ACL back in like, playing company softball back like 20 years ago.
20 years? You've been walking around with a busted ACL for 20 years?
So here's the thing. Not really. Like the ACL itself repaired fine, whatever. But anytime you tear your ACL, the physiology is such that you ultimately end up with arthritis. Yeah. So you could be Tom Brady. You tear your ACL.
Bone on bone action.
I've got full-blown bone on bone right now.
Well, it's great you lost the weight.
Oh, if I had. So
for those that don't know, how much did you lose, Laura?
At the height of my weight issue, I was 305 pounds, and I am now. I've lost 160.
Congratulations!
So yeah, thank you very much.
And how long did it take to lose all that?
So I started in August of like 2020, and it's
also in the middle of the pandemic.
In the middle of, because at the beginning of the pandemic,
it got a lot of control.
We were in lockdown. We were ordering food, going to Wendy's, and my weight hit. I was always around like 250, 260, and I would delude myself into being like, I'm not that big. I can still get it back. I can still. It's only like 50 to 75 pounds I gotta lose. And then I watched my weight creeping, and I kept justifying it at each milestone weight where I hit 275, and I was like, oh, I can still bounce back. I gotta cut calories. And then I hit like 285. And then I watched it creep to 295. And then finally at 300, I'm like, you gotta do something. And then I went into a complete panic and started eating everything in sight because my brain is broken. And I hit 305, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna fucking die. And I woke up one morning and I just said, I can't live like this anymore. And I had been in this video and it had gone kind of viral.
Oh yeah,
and
Tim Jones, what's it called?
The Wallet.
The Wallet. Yeah. Check that out.
Yeah. And I was sitting and I'm at the and I watched it over and over and over again. I kept being like, 3 million people saw me like that. Now, in my defense, I actually think that character, she needed to be fat. That's her.
But you didn't get fat for the character.
Nope. No, this was not method acting.
You didn't Christian Bale that one.
No, this was not Tim calling me and being like, hey,
can you put on 100?
3 months, I need you to put on 100 pounds. Done. No, that's not what happened. It just happened that I was.
You know how much fun that must be to if you are the actor who takes on the role where you have if you're Christian Bale and you got to play Dick Cheney, they say, hey, you got to put on 75.
Dude. I mean, I know how
that
to
must
do
be
that.
the dream. That must be the dream.
Absolutely.
Here, we're going to hand you $25 million. All you got to do is gain 75 pounds. Like, really?
I could do that so fast.
Oh, yeah.
Someone would need you consult. I'll do a consult. I can tell you how to do that. It's very easy.
Oh, yeah. I'd wash everything down with a milkshake.
Hell
Forget
yeah.
about it.
Are you kidding? I would consume anywhere. I could absolutely consume anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 calories a day, easy, no problem.
Oh yeah, well that's why I try and limit the edibles, because there was a time when I was living in Boston. I mean I still smoke weed, but when I was living in Boston, it first became legal, and I stopped working. I mean, I was smoking a lot of weed, and I was like, I gotta stop smoking so much. Let me try and get on these edibles, and I started upping the dosage just to see how many milligrams I could take at once without fucking fainting. And I got up to the triple digits, the mid triple digits. But the problem with it was I would eat fucking everything. I mean, I already get the munchies when I smoke. But when I'm on edibles, I cannot be stopped. I know. And I would just keep eating until I passed out and slept for 12 hours. Yeah. And I mean, that's a good way to put on some LBs.
You can do that. That'll do it. Yeah. We were down the Cape during a good portion of the pandemic, and I would go to the dispensary, get my gummies, because I'm like, I'm not going to be sober for this. And
not for 1 minute of it. I got to talk to my family all day.
Yuck. That ain't happening. And then I would make a cake at after dinner. I'd make a cake. Why not? I'd make cookie, and it was all under the guise of, well, I want the kids to feel cozy, so I'm just going to make a cake. Not making a cake.
You wanted the cake.
I was like, I need chocolate cake around midnight, so I better do this now before I'm all fucked up. I mean, that's how I was eating. It was so fucking bad. And like I said, one morning I just woke up and I was like, I'm going to die, And
did you get obsessed with it right away? Because I mean, because it's hard to.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like most people, unless you just have phenomenal genes, there's always something with your body you're trying to work on or change, but finding the commitment level to do something.
I got obsessed,
and that's the thing too, like the eating part. Like we were talking about it yesterday. You can work out till you're blue in the face, but to really change your physiology, you have to watch what you're eating. And that's got to be so tough, especially when you're sitting around the house and your whole family's eating dog shit and you're up there. Yeah.
My friend Nicole is a CrossFit lunatic, and she said to me, abs are made in the kitchen, not the gym.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh. And that resonated with me. And I kept thinking and it's what you said, you can work out 2-3 hours a day. It doesn't matter. If you leave the gym and you go eat a steak and cheese with extra mayo, extra cheese, because that's my jam. Nice. That's not, you just undid everything you did in the gym. It doesn't matter. So it really was about the food. And for me, it was about portion control.
That's my thing. I could fucking put them back.
Yeah.
I don't eat poorly. Like I don't like a lot of junk food. I don't eat a lot of chips or candy. But like I said yesterday, you put a bowl of pasta in front of me. Oh, yeah. A family-sized bowl, and no one else is getting a bite.
No. Oh, no, I'm 100% with you. I mean, I go to the North End. I clean my fucking plate.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing, too. It's a poor people thing, I feel like.
Absolutely.
I don't like wasting food, so I'll eat. If somebody else leaves food on their plate, I'll eat their food, too. It's like, what? That's waste. Don't throw that out. You grow up with food deprivation issues or food insecurity things, and you're all sitting around the table eating, and your mother's like, you took that, you put it on your plate, you better fucking finish it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because there's not more, Me and my brother used to race getting home to eat the leftovers. Whoever got home first got to eat the leftovers. And there have been times that there's been drywall broken over an egg roll.
I believe you. I had 3 other siblings. My mother would do the weekly shopping. She would come in, and one of my brothers would make a sandwich with the deli meat immediately, because he's like, I want to get the good. And we'd be out of deli meats by Tuesday, and you're like, well, dude, that's because you made half a pound ham sandwich. We were that. We
used to have the bread balls then, just taking the Wonder Bread and rolling it into a ball and eating it like a little golf ball.
We used to do mayonnaise and salt and pepper sandwiches. And if you were lucky, if there was a tomato around, you put the tomato on it and you'd be like, holy shit, this is amazing. I used to say all the time that I could be on Chopped, no problem, because I could you give me any fucking thing. I can make a beautiful meal out of it. You know what I mean? That would be a tomato with a aioli on a crisped bread, but really it's a piece of bread with fucking mayonnaise and tomato. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But oh yeah, you get inventive, and I do think that is a growing up broke. And my mother will tell you this: we were not poor, we were broke, and there's the difference. And I'm like, well,
what the fuck is the difference?
I'm like, tell me the difference. And she will tell you this: poor is when you have no money. Broke is you simply ran out of money. And I'm like, okay. Well, then we ran out of money
a long time ago
in 1982.
Yeah.
Because we're drinking powdered milk, bitch. And meanwhile, you have a Pepsi wrapped in tinfoil hidden in the back of the fridge. She would hide because she'd be like, in retrospect,
she gotta have something.
Right.
Everyone's got to have a little outlet.
She's working like a dog. And so she buys herself one, Pepsi, and she hides it. Nobody touched it. I mean, your mother's, you got to let her have her own something. Thing. Every once in a while, she would get a coupon for real Oreos, not the knockoffs. And what we would do is we would take them out of the package, count them, and divide them by 4. Nice. And then everybody would take theirs and hide them. And you'd wrap them in tinfoil. I'd hide mine in my room. My sister would hide hers.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Like dogs in a fucking kennel or something.
Yes. And so to the point where one of my brothers found my sister's stash and we took them and then we divided those by 2 because me and him, he found them and he came to me. So we divided. And when my sister came home,
idiot. He should have ate them himself.
He should not have told me he found them.
I know.
But he didn't want to
blamed you is what he should have done.
That's what he should have done. Yeah. But he didn't want to be guilty alone. You know what I mean? He wanted to drag someone else. And my sister cried.
I bet.
Because she was like,
she was looking forward to those Oreos all day in school.
Real Oreos, So now with my kids, I've gone the other way. And this is very classic of somebody who grew up without. We grew up without, shoes, coats, bedding, and food.
All hand-me-down.
All hand-me-down or busted, or you had one pair, you wore them till they fell off, right? Now, so what do you think that I have in my house the most of? I have over 200 pairs of shoes.
Oh, you're a big shoe freak.
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
And that's because and sneakers, I mean, you want to know how many of these fucking things I have? I've got every color of the rainbow.
I used to be more into sneakers, and my brother has a huge collection because we always wanted the Jordans, but we didn't have any money for it.
I'm a total sneakerhead. And I have a very specific genre. They have to be vintage and they have to be pink. So I've got the Nike Cortez, and I've got them in raspberry and baby pink and rose. And
well, at least you're not collecting those fucking $9,000 fucking heels.
No, I don't. That's not my thing. But I'm into like platform sandal. Like I have a whole thing. But my husband's like, come on, man. You're not. You have the money. You don't need to do that. Coats, we got one coat and you wore it till it fell off your body. So what do my kids have? They got 5 coats.
Just jackets all over the place.
Jackets, coats, winter coats. So what I do is every single year I gather them all up and I make the donation at Cradles to Crayons because I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? There's kids out there who need this shit.
That's the other thing too. And then you end up just packing it in your house and you said they're like, we need a bigger place. Like, no, you just need less shit.
No, you need to. No, you
need less shit. Let it go.
You need to fix your brain is what you need to. Bedding. I had the same comforter from the time I was 5 until I left for college. So if you go in my house, everybody's got a nice comforter. Everybody's got nice sheets because I didn't have that. And so again, same thing. And I finally, I mean, I had to talk to someone about it because I started to have these almost like hoarder-like tendencies with these very specific items. And finally, I was like, I got a problem. I really have a problem.
So you really do obsess, huh? It's more of an obsession kind of thing.
It becomes obsessive because I'm like, oh, Teddy needs a coat for what, if he needs a parka, he needs a nice wool coat. He needs this. No, he doesn't. No, he fucking doesn't. He's 13. He doesn't need shit. He's not even going to wear the fucking thing. He's going to tell me he's fine, Ma. You know what I mean? So like,
that sounds like me talking about my mother.
Yes.
Ma, I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm wearing shorts until February. I made a deal with the custodian. He said I wouldn't wear shorts until February. I said I would, so don't worry about it. I'm like, you freak. Anyway, so
is he your favorite or is your daughter?
It's tough. It's really tough.
Because I ask this to all parents and they all bullshit me like they don't have a favorite. I'm like, you fucking liar.
It's hard to explain. He and I are so alike that it's hard to not say he's my favorite because I just see.
But you guys argue more than you and your daughter.
So it's a weird dynamic because I fucking love that kid. I mean, I would die for him, but I would die for my daughter too.
Of course, you die for both of you.
And she's I love everything about her. Like she's a fucking freak. She's a goon. She's weird. She's brilliant. She's so smart. Like she's unbelievable reader. I love everything about her. She's adorable. Like she has a British accent. Like
what? How the fuck she get a British accent?
She's had a British accent.
As thick as your accent is from where'd she get a British accent? She's just faking it?
No.
She doing like the Elizabeth Holmes, let me change my voice type thing?
Yeah, that hello. No, she's had a British accent since she was 3.
How the fuck is that even possible?
Because Peppa Pig and Harry Potter were her babysitters.
Oh my God, there you go.
So
maybe that's why fuck was my first word.
Yes, yes. So my mother baby.
The horrible shit that my parents would let me watch anything as a kid. They didn't care.
Same as me. They didn't. My parents didn't censor any. I was watching George Carlin at like
my mom put him on for me on HBO when I was 9 years old. Jamming in New York, 1992, and that's when I fell in love with comedy. I was like, what the fuck?
I mean, that's me too.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor and George Carlin were not off the table at my parents were like, my dad was like very like a military guy, and then he got rejected from the military. He went to enlist for Vietnam, and they rejected him because turned out he had diabetes. He didn't know, and so he
saved his life.
It did. It did. So it reversed, and he became like a radical hippie and decided like no censorship. So here I am, like 8 years old, listening to fucking Colin and Pryor, and that's what started the comedy thing for me, because I'm like, I want to do that. And at some point, like even in my teenage years, I was like, I'm gonna move to LA the second I graduate from high school, and I'm getting the fuck out of here, and I'm going to LA.
There's a plan, decades in the making.
Decades, and like and then my friend Alberto and I were like, well, that's it, we're going to California, and we didn't end up because we were too fucked up, because booze and drugs, and then we ended up, and then we all went off to college, and then we come back and we're like, that's it, we're going to LA. And then but he met like, the woman who became his wife, and I was too fucked up,
and I was still drinking.
I was still fucked up, and then it just, and then time marched on, and then sometime in my late 20s, around 28, 29, I actually took a stand-up class at the Boston Center for Adult Ed with this female.
Is it like a community college?
Yeah, it's like it's one of those like adult ed centers that like in Boston, and it was nice. It was in this old mansion on Com Ave. It was really cool. Nice. You could take a cooking class.
Was anybody famous teaching it? Like one of the Boston legends?
Yes, but I'm blanking on her name, and I feel really bad because I love her, and I'm totally blanking on her name. But she was awesome, and she was around for a really long time. She was great, and our graduation was at the Comedy Studio.
Nice.
And I did well. I killed it. I had a nice tight 5, and I did great. And I was like, this is it. I'm doing this comedy. But then,
how long was
I was
this?
28 at the time, so a very long time ago. I won't say exactly how long ago,
but a long time before you started.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I went to like a couple of open mics, but then that's right when I had met the guy who was going to be my husband. Yeah. And I was so enraptured with him, and I was just every moment I just wanted to be with him, and I couldn't have any distractions. You know what I mean?
And 20 years later, you hate his guts.
And 20
folks,
years later,
it all works out.
Hey, I'm headlining in Boston, and I'm still married. And I just got all caught up with, I guess I just want to be a wife and a mom. Although I will tell you, the mom stuff came later for me, because I loved some kids, but not all kids. I wasn't a person who I love children. That's not me. That was never me. And one of the things about having kids was I knew our entire lives were going to change.
Yeah.
I knew what a big commitment it was. Like, I didn't go into it being like, everything's going to be perfect and my baby's going to be awesome. Like, I was never fucking me. So we delayed until the point where my doctor said to me, my OBGYN at some point was like, you better piss and get off the pot. And she literally said that because she was fucking awesome. She was old school, and she was an older woman, and she goes, I'll tell you something right now. She goes, you don't want to be waiting until you're in your 40s to have a kid. She's like, I had 2, one at 41 and one at 42. She's like, you know how exhausted I am? And she told me, she's like,
but I mean, you're gonna be exhausted no matter what. I feel like people have an unrealistic, like they said, a lot of these girls, like, I'm gonna have the perfect family. You have a real unrealistic expectation of what life is and what parenting is. And I'm saying that, not having had any kids, I just see other people like, that looks like a lot. They say it's not the hardest job in the world. We've gone over that, but it's definitely exhausting, because you can't take off from your own family. I mean, I guess you could. You could go for the pack of cigarettes and never come home.
You could do that, and believe me, I've thought about it. But there's no days off. It's not like you're hungover one morning after my best friend's wedding. I drank until I vomited, and I mean, we're not late 30s,
like an adult would.
Yeah, exactly. We're not late 30s at the time, and I got like a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm like so hungover that I had to. And Josh was so hungover, we could not parent them.
Yeah,
I had to call my parents. I had to tell my mother, Ma, you need to come over here and watch my children so Josh and I can recover.
Oh, geez.
And she was like, you need to stop fucking around. And that was so it's like that was like I quit, like I said, I quit drinking like in my late 20s, early 30s. That was a late 30s thing, and that sealed the deal. That was the moment where I was like, yeah, I'm never drinking again. Like, I will never drink more than one drink again. I don't know how to not. I was a binge drinker too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know how now, but it took me a very long time. But I didn't know how to have one drink or 2 beers or I never. Yeah. That's there not a thing.
No regulation going on.
No ability to be like, hey, you feel good right now. Why don't you stop? Nope, that wasn't a thing for me. But that's how I am with everything, and that's how I was with the food, and that's how I was even with comedy. When I started, I remember Rick Jenkins saying something like, "You got to go to 100 open mics before you get on my stage." So I treated it like
that was one of his other rules. or whatever. No wonder I haven't been up there.
Well, so I treated it like it was AA, 90 meetings in 90 days. So I went to 90 open mics in 90 days. Boom, 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 just ground it out. And then I went back to him and was like, I did it. And he was like, okay. But my point being is that I'm one of those people that gets like singularly focused and obsessed. And that's what happened with the weight loss. Because I was like, when I woke up that morning, every fat person has a moment, like a reckoning, where they're like,
it's like an AA bottom.
Yes.
It's a fat bottom.
Yep. In a fat bottom. That's funny. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Like I had that moment and I woke up and I was like, I will not live like this. And I think I like I got on my bike. I had my bike down on the Cape and I just started riding my bike around. And I said, all right, well, I was only able to do that for 7 minutes, but tomorrow I'm going to do it for 8. You know what I mean?
Did your family get involved in did they get in better shape or were they like, Mom, what's going on? Were they like concerned?
Both, all of it. So like if the kids wanted fast food, I was fast food in my home growing up was like a treat.
Yeah.
Like you went every 6 months and you were like, oh, we get to go to McDonald's.
My father would fuck us up, man. He'd fuck us up. He'd like head fake us. He'd like purposely drive by McDonald's and be like, ooh, and then he'd just drive past and he'd be laughing and we'd be sad in the back.
Yep.
It was like a horrible thing to do to your kids.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah.
And like but for us, McDonald's was like a treat. That wasn't something you went to regularly. Whereas in Josh's family growing up, you know, you had fast food. It was fine. Not a big deal. Like, and so you didn't mythologize fast food. And in my head, once I became an adult, I'm like, I can go to McDonald's whenever the fuck I want. Oh yeah, I'm doing that. You know what I mean? So again, all these fucked up food issues. So with our kids, like, you want fast food? We can do it. But again, within reason. You're not going to McDonald's once a week. But you're not going, but you don't make it a thing either. Yeah. You see what I mean?
But did any of your journey rub off on them?
Yes. Okay. So if they were gonna go do like a fast food thing, they would just quietly go. Yeah. You know what I mean? But they also, my daughter's always been a really good eater. She's somebody that I actually. My daughter and my sister eat the same way, whereas they love fruit, they love vegetables. They just naturally eat healthy. Like they don't skew towards sweets and shit. And my daughter is one of those people who will be like, I'm full and push her plate away. I've never done that a day in my life. And my son is me. So the two of us will like eat till the plate is clean. And then we'll be looking at other people's plates being like,
what didn't they finish?
She didn't finish her burger. Can I have that? And I'd be like, well, I was going to eat that. So anyway, what we're trying to do is when I began cooking healthy, I'm cooking healthy for the whole family. You know what I mean? So we're doing the chicken and the vegetables. We bought an air fryer. Yeah. So yes, it did rub off. My husband gained some weight during COVID, but he's one of those guys that if he
you said he carries it well.
He carries it well. He's a big dude. And when he puts his mind to it, he'll drop 50 pounds, not even really thinking about it. Teddy's a big boy, but again, he plays football. He's very strong. So we eat differently now. Everybody in the whole house eats differently now. My portions are very small, and I tend to lean towards more eating like kind of 6 times. I eat more frequently, but very small, and they're more doing the 3 meals, but much more healthy.
Yeah.
The one place where I do let them fuck around, believe it or not, is breakfast.
Okay.
And the reason why I let them do that,
I guess I have all day to deal with it.
You have all day to burn it off. Yeah. And I also believe that if you deprive people, again, the deprivation,
they'll be snacking later.
Yeah. So if my girl wants, if she's like, I really want Captain Crunch, I'm like, fucking have it. Because I also know you're going to eat 100 strawberries later and an apple and some protein and blah, blah. So go ahead. You know what I mean? We go out for a nice big breakfast. They want the pancakes. They want the bacon. Fucking have it. I don't care. Make sure you're active. Make sure you're not eating like a gross pig. And I will tell you, we have nights where we order in and we know we collectively have agreed it's going to be a disgusting night.
Yeah.
Josh
a little cheat night for the fam.
Exactly. And we do it together, almost like it's like a little bit of an event, if you will. Yeah. So, Josh is getting a fucking nasty ass calzone full of 6 different cheeses. Teddy's got his big ass sub. Jenny's got her like 5 pieces of pizza she's going to cram down her throat, and I'm eating, whatever. But we do it like with the understanding that this is, again, like, I like that. I'm actually going to steal that family cheat night. I like that, So yeah, it did rub off, and everybody's, and also too, I think once everybody saw the weight kind of starting to just kind of fall.
Well, that's what I was thinking. They're like, oh, something, they kind of, that's the thing. Like people sort of gravitate towards, she's doing something great for herself, and they kind of get inspired by it.
Exactly. It's like you could start to see the measurable difference because you really couldn't see it. The first 50 pounds,
of course, yeah.
It wasn't until the summer when I was like, oh shit, I'm down 75 pounds. And I wasn't getting on the scale either. Like I was like, at first I was getting on the scale every morning, every day. And then I did take a break because I realized I was getting crazy. But now I'm back on the scale every morning and every night. And, you know, we talked about this yesterday. Yeah. There's arguments for and against it. I need to be for it. I have to do that for me.
Some accountability.
I have to have accountability, and I have to see where I'm at. And as a woman, without getting into too much detail, you're going to fluctuate, right? That's just fact. But I need to know where I am. Yeah. And I need to know at any given moment, because I need to know, do I need to rein it in? Am I okay with, you know, and it's okay for me to think about that. Like, people be like, you just stop thinking about your weight, it'll be fine. No, bitch, it's not okay. I can't, that's not me. I am someone who has had food issues in my entire fucking life.
You gotta stay on top of it.
So for me, I have to be on top of it. Yeah. You know? So if I get a nutritionist who's like, don't weigh yourself every day, that's unhealthy. I'm like, no, actually, for me, it is healthy. Yeah. I have to do that, because if I don't get on that scale, I'll pretend it's okay to have.
Well, like I told you yesterday, there's been documented studies that if you just measuring your weight and not changing anything else, you subconsciously alter your behavior, and you do lose an average of 5 to 10% of whatever you're looking at.
I believe that 100% because it just, I mean, and everybody's different. You know, everybody needs to do their own damn thing. I'm doing what works for me. Yeah. You know, and I got to take care of myself and my heart and my family. And I actually would lie in bed at night and think to myself, I bet my heart's in there being like, hey, you're doing great. Yeah. You took off 20. You did it, kid. You know what I mean? Like, we're proud of you. You know, because I would think to myself, like, my poor heart's just like pumping away in there, probably like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like,
overworked.
Yes. And being like, come on, man. Oh, and now you're going to have a cigarette? Fuck you. Like,
just begging for the heart attack.
Yeah. Like the Widowmaker. You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? You know?
Actually, I wanted one more question before we get to the quick news stories. I actually wanted to ask you, 11 and 13, have your kids seen your act?
Oh yeah,
because you have a very raucous, fun act. And what do they think about it?
They love it. Okay. I mean, they you know, and I talk about them. I call Teddy fat on stage, and like, but they've watched all my videos. They've actually had some issues where friends have like gone on YouTube and seen me and
clips,
and then they'll be like, "Oh, your mom called you fat," you know what I mean? And he's like, "Who cares? Whatever. My mother's on stage. What's your mother doing?" You know what I mean? Like, my mother was at
their mother has an OnlyFans. She's making tens of thousands a month.
Okay, fair. You know, he even said to one kid, he's like, "I don't know. My mother was on stage at the Wilbur. What the fuck did your mother do this weekend?" You know what I mean? So they love it. They'll tell you they hate it, but they love it. Like, I do a whole bit about Jenny's British accent on TikTok, got a lot of views on that one. And she's like, I hate that you told everyone. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Everybody fucking knows.
Because I'm always surprised, like some comics that have older kids, like they'll like try and shelter them from it as long as they can. You know, because what they say on stage is not, not the household representation of themselves that they put on. But it doesn't sound like your kids give a shit.
They don't give a shit. They love it. You know, it's more attention.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
All right, let's pop in some quick news stories and we get out of here.
This. Yeah.
I'm allergic to sex. A college student reveals rare excruciating condition. A Colorado student embodied the expression of love hurts after revealing that she suffers from a rare semen allergy that causes her to experience excruciating pain whenever she's engaged in sexual activity. She says, essentially, I'm allergic to sex. The 18-year-old told the Kentucky newspaper. The English major and aspiring professor specifically suffers from human seminal plasma hypersensitivity, in which contact with the proteins in sperm causes her to experience extreme reactions, including redness and a burning sensation. Oral sex is particularly hazardous if seminal fluids touch her face or throat.
Oh shit!
I haven't heard of someone being this allergic to sex, but I did date a girl one time that she would like break out in hives.
Yeah.
If I put it on her.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Which I was like, I'm a little allergic to that. I'm like, what do you mean? It's just like, are you allergic to spit too? Like, what? I was like, I don't know, something in semen.
I got some in my eye.
Oh, congratulations. Well, that's true love right there. And now you're married to Josh. So
correct. It worked out. He went out I ended up looking like I had pink eye for a couple days, and I couldn't tell people it wasn't pink eye. I had to just say, yep, it's pink eye.
Maybe that's why women wear those big long fake eyelashes now, to keep the cum out of their eyes.
You know what those are called? Cum, what are they called?
Cum strainers?
Yeah, cum wipers. There's a name.
Cum wipers? I don't know. Well, internet, help us out. Cum wiper. There's
something. All right, but I will tell you, the next day, he went to Home Depot and bought me safety goggles.
That's funny.
So we didn't let that slow us down. We were so dirty. My God. He would literally come in the door after work and be like, get the goggles. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we were dirty. It was great.
I'm sure your kids will love hearing this.
Yeah. I might not let them listen to this
one.
That's
all right. They'll have to Google it. But the thing about, I was thinking about like being allergic to sex. She must get so much more shit done. Because I wonder if she still wants to have sex, but knowing that the pain associated with it's too excruciating, it kind of puts her off. So she doesn't really think about it. So she can go on about her day.
She focuses on other things.
Yeah, she has a whole, like, think about how many hours of your life you get back if you're not trying to get laid.
She's going to have her doctorate probably in 2 years.
Yeah, no, right? She's 18 years old. She's going to have a PhD in fucking by 21.
But you're right. You take that off the table. You have so much time. Shit, what would you do with yourself?
Yeah, what can you do? I don't know. We'll keep it with the sex stuff. Since Valentine's Day just passed, you'll hear this a couple weeks later, but this I found interesting. A TikTok woman invites 65 random men to a chaotic Valentine's Day party. The celebration of Valentine's Day, all the single ladies in TikTok user Cassidy Davis's friend group invited over 65 male strangers, each of whom had matched with a friend on a dating app, to a chaotic single soiree that she titled "Bring a Random and Bring a Bottle."
All right.
You have to bring a random person that you've matched with on a dating app, said Davis to all her followers. It could be Tinder, it could be Bumble, it could be Farmers Only, I don't care. But it has to be a random person, and you also have to bring a bottle of liquor.
Okay.
The LA-based action comedian went on to spell out her rules, blah, 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 blah. And I guess it turned into a little bit of an orgy.
I mean, it was always going to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds fun.
I'm not a big orgy guy.
I wouldn't do it, but it sounds like they had a great time.
I feel like it's kind of gross. And also, dicks are gross.
Agreed.
Even when I have sex, there's one dick too many in the room. You know, I'm like grossed out when I get in the shower. I'm like, ugh, look at that thing. What is that?
I honest to God, like I've never done like I've never been with more than one person at a time. I've never done the threesome thing, any of that. I just don't feel like I would be comfortable, but I'm all for everybody. Do what you,
It's too much activity going on for me in an orgy.
I feel like there was,
a lot going on. I don't like people standing behind me ever.
No,
especially when I have my pants down.
I feel like I know nobody's really judging because you're at this big sex party and everybody's doing their thing, but I also worry about smells, fluids. I just feel like there's a lot of unsanitary.
And I also feel like at an orgy, there's a lot of the people there are people you don't want to have sex with to begin with.
Agreed.
It's like going to a nudist colony. It's never the hottest people you've ever seen in your life in a nudist colony.
Right.
It's your fat aunt and uncle who like the nudist colony. It's like, Christ almighty, I don't want to see that.
It's not 1991 PM Anderson walking around. Put it that way.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no one's getting excited to go to the nudist colony.
No.
Because if you're actually hot, you don't need to be doing shit like that.
No. Not at all. Absolutely not. No, I agree with you 100%. I went to a nude optional beach, and who is everybody without the clothes? The old men.
Oh yeah. It's a gym locker room.
Yeah.
Just their pubes are as long as their balls. I don't get that. When older men get older, their pubic hair seems to straighten out and turn into like a weird. It almost looks like fishing line tangled up.
Ew,
it's like it's really fucking, and it's always the oldest guy in the gym with the saggiest nuts walking around.
Well, I know about the nut sagging just because that's a thing that happens in time. I get it, but I did not know about the pubes. And if that's a thing that's going to happen to my husband, I'm going to have to. He takes care of himself.
He still grooms. Good for him.
Absolutely, of course. You gotta be respectful of one another.
You do. If you want your dick sucked, you have to do some hedging.
You do.
Wash your nuts and trim the hedges.
Absolutely. It's a commitment to one another to be like, hey, I'm still attracted to you. I still love you. I'm going to make this nice for you. You know what I mean? Which, again,
it's not as troubling for you as it could be.
Exactly.
I want to eliminate barriers to you saying no.
Exactly. and no, which is not to say I haven't been caught off guard at sometimes, but for the most part, I think you have to be respectful of one another and keep it still fun. You've been fucking this guy for 20 years. Like, come on, man. Like, we're digging deep into the bag of tricks here, but there's certain things you can do to make things fun for one another. Like, that's a minimum requirement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My friend Kara said that's like, she made a joke about how like, that's like the basic marital like contract. Like everybody groom. It's the least we can do for one another. And there have been times like during pregnancy when you can't really reach all your areas, and he would take care of me. Like
that's
he would
nice
take
of him.
care of that.
That's some guy's kink, by the way. You could sell that on OnlyFans. Him shaving you.
Yeah, 100%. Are you kidding me? I don't know about the massive belly. I will tell you one funny thing.
Oh no, pregnancy is a kink too.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, man. There's people are into all sorts of weird shit.
Yeah,
we'll have to save for another episode.
Yeah. I do remember I was pregnant right at the end when I was getting ready to go. I was actually like starting to have contractions. And I said to him, like, you got to take care of me. I don't want the doctor to think there's a, whatever. You got to clean me up. And we went into the bathroom. He said, no problem. And I was standing there and he goes, hang on. He did an inspection. And then he said, hang on 1 second. I got to get the scissors. I got to do a pre-trim. And I was like, oh, fucking God.
That's how you know the flaps are getting long. That also takes a lot of trust. Because, I mean, what if you nix the clitoris, it's over? You know, it takes a lot of trust in a relationship.
But that right there just goes to show you like what an incredible human being this is.
Yes.
I'm 9.5 months. I'm so pregnant. I'm so furry. And he's like, you know what? It's all good. Let me go get the scissors.
He's doing a real pro job.
Did he
take the mirror and do the both sides like with the barbershop when he was done?
I got to see it in a mirror while I was having the baby. I was like, are you
I would not want to
me?
see that. Holy Christ.
You have no idea what they do.
It looks gruesome.
The doctor rolled a mirror in.
Jesus.
She was like, you want to see? I'm like, nah.
No, I'm getting anxious just thinking about it. Look at me squirming in my seat.
I was like, I'll just wait and see the baby when you put it in my arm.
When it's all done.
I don't need to see the prequel. I'm good.
Well, thanks so much for doing this.
You're very welcome.
Well, do you want anything you want to promote?
No.
Where can they find you on the internets?
So typically Instagram is the best place. I put my shows there, so it's just Laura Severse on the
Severse, right?
Yes,
Laura
on
Severse.
Instagram. I do have a website. It's a little busted. I don't really put my shows on there. Instagram seems to be my thing.
That's my thing too.
Yeah,
I
like
follow Laura Severse. She's out here. She's going to be out in San Diego for a few days, but she's been out here for a month. She'll be back in Boston. She works every weekend, so go check her out there.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe she'll be moving out here someday.
I certainly hope so.
It'd be fun to have you.
It would be awesome.
Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, that's it for this episode. We love you guys. We'll check you next week. Thanks for checking in. Peace.